welcome to psychicwarfare.com. My name is St. Nicholas, and today we are going to do a supplemental review. So previously you might have seen the 2 1-hour segments of a document released by the CIA for general release, and that document was written by Lieutenant Col McKelvy, United States Air Force, in May 1988, and the document was released in 2001. So, but this document, which was classified, had its foundations in this document, or document here, Military Review, which was released for general consumption to the public in a magazine called the Military Review, and it was released in December 1980. So therefore it was volume 12. And if you have a copy of this magazine, well done. And it this article features on page 47, and it's called The New Mental Battlefield, Me Up Spock. And it was written by a gentleman called, who's Lieutenant Col John B. Alexander of the United States Army. So very interesting. So you have a classified document written 8 years later, but this is written in plain sight. So let's go through this document. And indeed, this gentleman, Lieutenant Col John B. Alexander, is a very interesting fellow, and you will soon learn why. So let's get started. Here we go, our main page. The complexity of the battlefield is constantly increasing. Introduction of new and sophisticated technology requires commanders to be fully aware of the nature of potential threat, as well as countermeasures and countermeasures. In addition to more widely known technology advances, a new battlefield dimension that may defy our general perceived concepts of time and space looms on the horizon. This field is sometimes called psychotronics or bioenergetics. Introducing the new mental battlefield, Me Up Spock, by Lieutenant Col John B. Alexander of the United States Army. Psychotronics may be described as an interaction of mind and matter. While the concepts may stretch the imagination of many readers, research in this area has been underway for years. The possibility of employment as weaponry has been explored. To be more specific, there are weapon systems that operate on the power of the mind and whose lethal capacity has already been demonstrated. 2 subdivisions of this field have also been investigated. Mind-altering techniques designed to impact on an opponent are well advanced. The procedures employed include manipulation of human behavior through use of psychological weapons affecting sight, sound, smell, temperature, electromagnetic energy, or sensory deprivation. Yes, all very, very possible. The other area of experimentation involves parapsychological phenomena known as the out-of-body experience, OOBE, remote viewing, extrasensory perception, or bioinformation, depending on the source and technique employed. It has been demonstrated that certain persons appear to have the ability to mentally retrieve data from far away while physically remaining in a secure location. I.e., he's talking about being based in a bunker buried in a mountain and going and finding information 3, 4, 5,000 miles away in another bunker buried in a mountain, and being able to read documents such as this, and going into file cabinets, going into safes, and reading information, let alone seeing what people are doing. So, highly useful from a military sense. So I continue then. It may sound fantastic, but consider the available unclassified data. Soviet research. It is generally believed that the Soviets and their allies are well in the lead in parapsychological research. And we're speaking about 1980, remember. This belief is supported by a number of popular books that have been on the market for the past 10 years. Not as well known are 2 Defense Intelligence Agency reports that were released through the Freedom of Information Act. The reports were prepared by the Office of the Surgeon General and are titled Controlled Offensive Behavior USSR, Unclassified, 1972, and Soviet and Czechoslovakian Parapsychological Research, Unclassified, 1975. The reality of paranormal events has been accepted by the Soviet researchers, and theories have been developed to explain and study these events. The Soviets have further developed techniques to control and actively employ their knowledge of parapsychology. Included in the research has been investigation into areas such as telepathy, the mental awareness of information over distance, precognition, the knowledge of future events, telekinesis, the movement of matter with the mind, and the transfer of bioenergy from one body to another. The amount of information scientifically verified by the Soviets is voluminous and beyond the scope of this article. As you can imagine, this is a publicly released article, and if our author, Lieutenant Colonel Alexander, started to divulge everything he actually knew, it wouldn't be able to be printed in an open press article such as this. So he continues though with some examples, and he says, however, several examples will demonstrate areas in which progress has been made. The transfer of energy from one organism to another, the availability to heal or cause disease can be transmitted over distance, thus inducing illness or death for no apparent cause. While this has been demonstrated on lower organisms, flies and frogs, the present capacity for human death is still debated. 1980, open press document. Who knows, right? The existence of energy emanations from the body has been repeatedly demonstrated through radiation field photography, known as Kirlian photography or the Kirlian effect. This phenomenon, which has been widely replicated in the West, reflects changes in emotional condition. Telepathic behavior modification, which includes the ability to induce hypnotic states up to distances in excess of 1,000 kilometers, has also been reported. And finally in this section, the ability to mentally move objects has also been repeatedly demonstrated under scientific controlled conditions. Movement of selected objects intermingling with other objects has also been accomplished. So here he's revealing to Kuligina, the Russian lady, who is able to manipulate all sorts of objects on a table under scientific conditions. It has been filmed, and you can find Kuligina manipulating matchsticks under glass globes on the internet. So easily found, and I believe she's a real deal. I'm sure Lieutenant Colonel Alexander does as well. So now we're going to move into American research. The existence of parapsychological research in the United States is not well known, nor is it certainly organized. The United States government is reported to have funded some research projects, but these have not been published. Frequently, the data are anecdotal in nature and not well anticipated or not well accepted in the scientific community. Unlike the Soviet research, US efforts have frequently been attacked as inconclusive. Since the phenomena being examined are frequently beyond explanation in known scientific terms, they are often discounted as non-existent. And we know this phenomenon is correct because we hear it repeated 8 years later in the report The Psychic Warfare Exploring the Mind Frontier by Lieutenant Colonel McKelvy. And he's expressing the same sentiment as after 8 years, almost a decade on from the initial warnings of Lieutenant Colonel Alexander. But hey, people are slow learners. Russell Targ and Harold Puthoff of the Stanford Research Institute have conducted some of the best known U.S. experimentation on the ability to collect data from afar, or remote viewing, which is the term, as they call it. Their evidence tends to support claims that relatively accurate information can be obtained through employment of these methods, the methods of remote viewing. During experiments, the tested subjects was required to mentally visit a remote area and then later draw or describe the target site in detail. This was satisfactorily accomplished on several occasions, although neither the subject nor the experimenter had prior knowledge to the target or of the target. The bulk of outer body data from the United States research is anecdotal. Literally thousands of people have reported the experience of being discreetly or consciously located outside of their physical bodies, and yet able to view themselves from that perspective with total awareness of activities in that arena. This phenomena is frequently associated with life-threatening circumstances such as accidents, illness, or extreme danger. Many soldiers have had close calls in combat, having reported being in the OOBE state of consciousness. Many physicians have been embarrassed by patients who, after being revived from an unconscious state, were able to repeat conversations and events that had occurred while they were unconscious. Interesting stuff. Scientific experimentation has also been conducted with OOBE. Test subjects have induced OOBE states while being psychologically monitored and have retrieved data that was not available through normal means. Experiments frequently include identification of random numbers, either placed out of sight, nearby, or at more distant locations. A distant electroencephalogram, that's EEG for everyone else, pattern called alphoid has been isolated during tests, thereby indicating that this state is detectable through acceptable physiological monitoring methods. although some tests were successful, others were not, leading to the conclusion that an extremely complex phenomenon was involved. Another phenomenon that has attracted the attention of the United States researchers is that a psychokinesis, mind over matter, particularly the distortion of mental objects by mental or non-forceful physical techniques. The most common and least practical application probably has been the bending of forks in spoons by gentle stroking of the object. So there's your Uri Geller, right? You see him doing it on television all the time. And he's got his, what is it? I think it's a Cadillac that he glues all his mentally bending spoons on of the rich, famous, and politically powerful. So he's got an old car that's covered in spoons. I'm sure you know about it, you can find it on the internet. Microscopic examination of the bent and broken items has revealed a different form of fracturing than is experienced when metal items are ruptured by physical force. Okay, so that's interesting. The most likely explanation for this phenomena is that the subject is mentally generating an electromagnetic force capable of distorting and rupturing the target object. The existence of such a force has been established through the Soviet development means previously described as Korean photography. Further testimony concerning the existence of electromagnetic emanations from the physical body may be found in the medical concepts of acupuncture. Despite common use of acupuncture in the East for thousands of years, Western medicine is only now accepting the premise that the human body can be treated for physical ailments through adjustments in Chi, the minute electromagnetic life force that flows through us. Chi being spelled K-I. The ability of the mind to control our physiology is being explored medically and in other areas through the medium of biofeedback. It has been determined that the functions of the autonomic nervous system, previously thought to operate independently of the conscious mind, can be controlled. This indicates that we can internally direct our physiological systems that produce anxiety and stress. With training, a subject can learn to control fear and even bleeding. The day-to-day benefits of stress reduction in modern life have been widely touted, and indeed widely useful. A similar field, that of meditation, has been examined. Massive amounts of data are available addressing the mental and physiological benefits that may be derived through the practice of meditation. These reports are commonly accepted and will not be discussed here. What is not as well known is the research done on the Transcendental Meditation Siddhis program. Though considered controversial by some, this program has produced evidence that individuals can be taught to physically levitate or fly and manifest other physiological phenomena. To support this evidence, Dr. David W. Oram Johnson has monitored brain functioning on the EEG and found high coherence of the right and left hemisphere. This data supports the supposition that people can be trained to employ their minds to produce physiological phenomena that extend our bounds and concepts of reality. Other areas too numerous to mention have been explored. The major problem has been the lack of funding or coordinated effort in the West. It has been easier to ignore paranormal considerations than to address the sticky questions raised through examination. Precisely. Military application. The intelligence gathering capability available through remote viewing or OOBE travel is obvious. Henry Grizz and William Dick reported that test subjects targeted against strategic sites in both the USSR and the People's Republic of China were able to penetrate secured areas to retrieve desired data via out-of-body travel. They further claimed the results were verified by independent agents, and it's known, it's entirely possible, it happens. The strategic and tactical applications are unlimited. When finally developed, this capability could ultimately allow an operator to enter an enemy headquarters at will to observe plans and dispositions. On the battlefield, one could reconnoiter an area from the physical safety of his chosen location. Two major problems presently exist in the implementation of this program. Only certain individuals have demonstrated innate skills of controlled OOBE, and data reliability is uncertain. These problems can be attributed to lack of observational skills of the subject as well as the complexity of the phenomena involved. The use of psychotronic weapons has already been mentioned. Certainly, with development, these weapons could be able to induce illness or death at little or no risk to the operator. Yeah, precisely. Range may be a present problem, but this will probably be overcome if it has not been already. Inventor Robert Pavlita claims that no specific physical ability is necessary to charge the generator. The psychotronic weapon would be silent, difficult to detect, and would require only a human operator as a power source. Or operative. Psychic operative. Now, Soviet researchers studying controlled behavior have also examined the effects of electromagnetic radiation on humans and have applied those techniques against the U.S. Embassy in Moscow. Researchers suggest that certain extremely low frequency ELF emissions pose psychoactive characteristics. These transmissions can be used to reduce depression or irritability in the target population. The application of large-scale ELF behavior modification could have horrendous impact. And look up the Project Woodpecker, which is a Russian project. You look that one up if you want to study ELF. The use of telepathic hypnosis also holds great potential. This capability could allow agents to be deeply planted with no conscious knowledge of their programming. In movie terms, the Manchurian candidate lives and does not even require a phone call. Other mind-to-mind induction techniques are also being considered. If perfected, this capability could allow the direct transference of thought via telepathy from one mind or groups of minds to affected target audiences. The unique factor is the recipient will not be aware that thoughts have been implanted from an external source. He or she will believe the thoughts are original. Well, it's the fundamental basics of being a psychic is those sorts of techniques. Planting themes, ideas, hopes, and fears is what psychics do. Part of the brief. So now we're going to conclusions. The impact that psychotronic weaponry and other paranormal applications will have in the future is difficult to determine at this time. So this time, 1980. concerns reiterated in the paper by our good friend Lieutenant Colonel McKelvy in 1988. And now, in the year 2020, we know it's here. Here, done deal. Just now we're just all have the capability to conduct psychic phenomena using the Tony Stark Rifat method. So I'll continue. It has been suggested that whoever makes the first major breakthrough in this field will have a quantum leap over his opponents, and an advantage similar to sole possession of nuclear weapons, which is, of course, if you can plant ideas in people's heads and do all the rest of it, as he's been talking about in his paper, then you're going to have a superior advantage, particularly if you're a government with government funding and a government program. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Clearly, advances in any of the aforementioned areas will add new dimensions to the battlefield. The Soviets and their allies have been working in this field for many years. Their conviction that this area has military applications is evident. They continue to fund this program and operate research centers such as those at Novosibirsk. If there were no perceived military advantages, it is doubtful they would provide financial and scientific backing for such projects. Particularly back in those times, you spend money where you're going to get benefit, and clearly the Soviets felt they were getting significant benefit. Another indicator is the degree of secrecy that was invoked by the Soviet government on parapsychological research. The arrest in 1977 of American correspondent Robert Toth on charges that he had received secret parapsychological data from a Soviet scientist is indicative of the sensitivity in that area. Yeah, it's spot on. There is sufficient concern about psychic intrusion to cause work to begin on countermeasures such as bioenergy detectors. Available evidence supports the thesis that paranormal phenomena do occur and under some circumstances can be controlled. The military potential for such controlled resources has already been examined. Clearly, psychotronic weapons already exist. Only their capabilities are in doubt. That is not to say that problems do not exist with the weapons and the concepts. At the present time, unpredictable system failures and difficulty in controlling testing are major weaknesses. The information presented here will be considered by some to be ridiculous since it does not conform to their view of reality. But some people believe the world is flat. Other readers may view this as a conservative approach because such conservative areas as hyperspatial transmitters or Tesla wave generators have not been addressed. The intent here is to emphasize the need for more coordinated research in the realm of the paranormal. Additionally, there is a need to provide leaders at all levels with a basic understanding of weapon systems that they may encounter in the not too distant future. And indeed, that message was also emphasized multiple times in this report by Lieutenant Colonel McKelvy of the United States Air Force. So, this does conclude our reading of the paper, The New Mental Battlefield, Me Up Spock by Lieutenant Colonel John B. Alexander of the United States Army, but we're going to read his bio because that is also of interest. So we're going to go do that. Just takes a moment. Lieutenant Colonel John B. Alexander is with the Inspector General Agency Department of the Army, Washington, D.C. He received a BA from the University of Nebraska, an MA from Pepperdine University, a PhD from Walden University, and is a 1980 graduate of the USA CGSC. He has served in Thailand and Vietnam with the Special Forces and was Chief Human Resources Division Organizational Effectiveness Staff Officer at Fort Ferguson in Georgia. So, what have we learned? We have learned that the United States military, at least certain members of the United States military, have been very concerned about psychic warfare and everything that the Soviets were doing for decades prior to even 1980. And the Soviets were making huge leaps, huge advances in their super secret psychic warfare projects. Well, the United States was certainly several steps behind the power curve considering what the Soviets can conduct. So, psychic warfare is real, psychic warfare is here in 2020, and you have gentlemen from 40 and 30 years ago writing articles about the existence of psychic warfare and paranormal phenomena and desperate for funding into this arena. If you wish to be able to conduct psychic warfare, all you have to do is read through the website from Tony Stark Rifat, psychicwarfare.com, where you will find these phenomena for sale for your convenience and for your applications for your own ambitions. My name is St. Nicholas, and bye for now.